Freedom is nothing but a chance to be better. Albert Camus. Have you ever felt the walls closing in, the routines binding you to a life you never chose, every day feeling like a repetition of the last? Work, obligations, expectations, all designed by others, dictated by invisible rules. You move forward, but you wonder, is this really my life? Or am I just playing a part in someone else's story? Camus understood this struggle deeply. He saw how so many lives trapped by circumstance, conditioned to accept a script that wasn't theirs to write. But the absurd, that collision between our longing for freedom and the reality of constraint, also offers a door. Their way out not through escape, but through awareness, defiance, and choice. If you feel caught in this invisible prison, you are not alone, and you are not powerless. This is the absurd mind, a space for those ready to confront the absurd and find a path to freedom. If this resonates, subscribe, leave a like to support, and stay awake, because today we begin to uncover how to break free from a life not chosen. Rebellion against the absurd is not about grand gestures or loud proclamations. It is a quiet, daily choice to live without illusions, to accept the world as it is, stripped of comforting lies and easy answers. Camus teaches us that to live authentically in an absurd world is to embrace this silence and still find reasons to go on. It is a refusal to be crushed by meaninglessness, a determination to carve out a life worth living despite the void. This silent rebellion manifests in simple acts, showing up fully in relationships, creating without guarantee of success, loving without expectation of permanence. It means being present in moments that don't promise meaning, but are meaningful because you choose them to be. The rebel embraces joy, pain, beauty, and suffering alike, recognizing all as part of the human experience. Living without illusions demands courage. It requires the strength to face despair without fleeing into distraction or false hope. The absurd exposes the fragility of life, the inevitability of loss, and the limits of control. Yet within this exposure lies a paradoxical freedom, the freedom to create meaning in defiance of the void. Camus' rebel understands that life is transient and that meaning is not discovered but made. This understanding liberates you from the endless search for external validation and allows you to root your existence in your own choices. It is a deeply personal and radical form of freedom, one that demands responsibility and invites profound engagement with the world. The world may remain indifferent, but the rebel's spirit is unyielding. Choosing to live fully awake is an act of rebellion against despair, apathy, and the seduction of ignorance. It is a commitment to authenticity, presence, and the creative act of living despite the silence. In embracing this rebellion, you find not only freedom, but also a strange kind of beauty. A beauty born from the courage to face the absurd and to keep moving forward, step by step, moment by moment. When the rebel embraces the absurd, they step into the role of creator, the artist of their own existence. There is no cosmic blueprint or ultimate guide, only the raw material of experience and choice. This freedom is both exhilarating and daunting, for it places the responsibility squarely on your shoulders. Each moment becomes a canvas upon which you paint your meaning, aware that it is temporary and fragile, yet profoundly yours. This creation of meaning is not an escape from reality, but a confrontation with it. It is a deliberate act of defiance against the void, an affirmation that while the universe remains silent, your life can speak volumes. The rebel chooses to find beauty in fleeting moments, to invest deeply in relationships and passions, knowing full well their impermanence. This embrace of transience is what gives life its bittersweet richness. Camus reminds us that this process requires continual effort. The absurd does not vanish with a single act of rebellion. It returns daily, challenging your resolve. Yet with each conscious choice to engage authentically, to love without guarantees, to create without certainty, you strengthen your freedom. You build a life that is not defined by external meaning, but by your own commitment to presence and authenticity. This radical freedom transforms suffering as well. Pain and loss no longer signal failure, but become part of the tapestry of human existence. The rebel accepts these realities without illusion, finding in them an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding. The absurd teaches that vulnerability is not weakness, but a gateway to true strength and compassion. In choosing to live without illusions, the rebel embraces both the light and the shadow of existence. There is no denying the void, no pretending away the silence, but there is also no surrender to despair. Instead, there is a fierce, unyielding commitment to life as it is, imperfect, transient, and profoundly real. Ultimately, this path is the only authentic way to live in an absurd world. It is a journey of continuous creation, conscious choice, and courageous acceptance. And through this journey, the rebel discovers the freedom that lies not in answers, but in the act of living itself. The absurd does not promise comfort or clarity. It offers silence and indifference. Yet within that silence there lies a profound freedom, the freedom to choose how to live despite knowing there is no grand meaning waiting to be discovered. Camus showed us that embracing the absurd is not surrender, it is revolt. It is the choice to live fully awake, conscious of the void, and still say yes to life. Most will never face the absurd head-on. They will live in distraction, illusion, or denial. But for those who do, life becomes a continuous act of creation, each moment a brushstroke on the canvas of existence. This freedom demands courage and responsibility, but also brings authenticity and profound joy that cannot be found in false hope. To live authentically in an absurd world is to accept impermanence, pain, and uncertainty without flinching. It is to find beauty in the transient and meaning in the moment. This acceptance is not passive but active, a daily rebellion against despair and complacency, a commitment to presence and to living deliberately. Camus' myth of Sisyphus ends with a smile, not because the task is easy, but because the rebel claims ownership of their fate. The absurd does not defeat them. Instead, their defiance becomes a source of strength and meaning. This is the art of living without illusions, finding freedom not by escaping the void, but by embracing it fully. If this reflection resonates, you are not alone. You are part of a rare community, those who refuse to fall back asleep. I invite you to subscribe, leave a like, and continue this journey with me here at The Absurd Mind. Together, we can learn how to survive and even thrive inside the absurd. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video, awake, aware, and free. Most of us grow up believing we have control over our lives, but the truth is more complex. From early childhood, we are shaped by countless external forces, family expectations, cultural norms, educational systems, and social pressures. These invisible chains dictate who we should become and what we should strive for, often without us realizing it. The illusion of freedom conceals the subtle ways we are guided along predetermined paths. Our choices, while seemingly personal, are often the result of years of conditioning that limits authentic self-expression and forces conformity to roles handed down by society. The societal narrative sells freedom as a personal right, a path, to be carved through our own decisions. Yet the structure of modern life molds us into versions of ourselves that align with collective expectations. Schooling, career progression, social relationships all tend to follow scripts designed to maintain stability and productivity rather than individual fulfillment. This disconnect between what we truly desire and what society prescribes creates a silent suffering. The paradox of freedom is that it often comes disguised as obligation, and the cost is a slow erosion of our authentic identity beneath layers of habit and expectation. Albert Camus articulated this tension as a core aspect of the absurd, the conflict between our yearning for genuine freedom and the reality of living within confines imposed by the external world. We desire to break free, to live authentically, but find ourselves trapped in cycles of routine and compliance. This entrapment is not always obvious at first. It often masquerades as safety or normalcy. Yet, as awareness grows, the constraints begin to feel suffocating, and the quiet doubt that the life we lead is not truly ours becomes harder to ignore. This awakening brings a painful clarity. We recognize the borrowed dreams we chase, the scripted roles we perform, and the expectations that shape our desires. The realization that much of our existence has been shaped by forces beyond our control can be deeply unsettling. But this recognition is also the doorway to change, the moment when we begin to question the stories we have inherited and consider what it might mean to reclaim authorship of our lives. Freedom, Camus suggests, is not granted, but seized through conscious rebellion. It is the choice to confront the absurdity of our condition and refuse to be defined by the roles imposed on us. This rebellion begins with awareness and requires courage to break the invisible chains that bind us. While the path to genuine freedom is difficult and uncertain, it is the only route to living a life that feels truly our own, not one merely endured or performed. The moment you become aware that much of your life is shaped by forces beyond your control is both liberating and terrifying. This awakening shatters the comforting illusions of choice and control you once held dear. It forces you to confront the invisible walls constructed by society, family, and culture, walls that define your identity, your desires, and your possibilities. Suddenly, you see that what you thought was freedom was a carefully designed cage. This recognition is painful because it unravels the very foundation of your existence, leaving you vulnerable to the raw truth of your absurd condition. This painful clarity forces you to question everything: your goals, relationships, values, and dreams. You realize that many of your pursuits were inherited rather than chosen, that your passions might be echoes of others' expectations. The weight of this realization can be suffocating. The life you believed to be yours feels foreign, and the scripts you followed reveal themselves as borrowed. Yet this moment of disillusionment is crucial. It marks the beginning of true awareness, the first step towards reclaiming autonomy over your life, even in a world designed to limit it. Camus believed that this confrontation with absurdity is unavoidable for those who truly awaken. It is a rite of passage, a necessary destruction before any authentic creation can occur. To face this reality is to embrace the paradox of existence, the clash between our desire for meaning and the universe's silence. This paradox breeds discomfort and despair, but also the potential for freedom. For once you accept that life has no inherent script, you can begin to write your own with full knowledge of the risks and responsibilities involved. Breaking free from the invisible prison is not about escaping the absurd, but about learning to live within it with eyes wide open. It means acknowledging the limitations imposed by circumstance without surrendering to them. It means finding small acts of rebellion in everyday choices, choosing authenticity over conformity, presence over distraction, courage over complacency. It is a slow, ongoing process of peeling away the layers of conditioning that obscure your true self. This process demands patience and resilience. The chains forged by years of socialization do not break easily, and setbacks are inevitable. But each moment of awareness, each conscious decision to live deliberately, weakens the hold of the invisible cage. Camus teaches that revolt against the absurd is an act of personal freedom, a refusal to be defined by forces outside your control. It is a call to live with integrity and passion, despite the silence of the universe. In embracing this rebellion, you claim the power to shape your life's narrative. You accept that while the universe offers no guarantees or meaning, your choices imbue your existence with purpose. This purpose is not universal or eternal, but deeply personal and real. It is the meaning you create through your actions, relationships, and presence. And in that creation lies the true essence of freedom. Freedom, as Camus describes, is not a gift but a burden. Once you recognize the absurd and refuse to live by scripts imposed on you, you face the heavy responsibility of choice. This responsibility is overwhelming because there are no guarantees, no divine blueprint, no clear path to follow. Every decision is made in a vacuum, weighted by the knowledge that life offers no inherent meaning to lean on. You are alone with your consciousness, tasked with creating significance in a silent universe. This realization can be both paralyzing and empowering. The paradox of freedom is that it requires continuous rebellion against despair. Each day the absurd confronts you anew. The endless routine, the societal expectations, the seductive distractions, all attempt to drown out your awareness. To live freely within the absurd is to consciously resist these forces, to affirm your existence despite their pull. It is a choice made moment by moment, to embrace uncertainty, and to act with intention in a world that offers no assurances. This rebellion against the absurd is not a loud declaration, but a quiet persistence. It manifests in small acts, choosing honesty over convenience, presence over distraction, courage over complacency. These acts may seem insignificant in isolation, but together they forge a life of authenticity. Camus' rebel is not a destroyer but a creator, someone who refuses to be crushed by meaninglessness and instead crafts their own. Living authentically within the absurd also means embracing the fragility and temporality of existence. There is no eternal reward for the rebel. The struggle is its own meaning. This acceptance can bring peace, not a peace of resignation, but a peace of clarity and fierce engagement with life. To live this way is to find beauty in the transient, joy in the ephemeral, and strength in the very act of enduring. The weight of this freedom can cause isolation. Many will not understand your choice to confront the absurd openly. Society favors comfort and illusion, not confrontation and rebellion. Yet this solitude is part of the rebel's path. It is in solitude that you find the space to listen to your own voice, separate from the cacophony of imposed meanings. This solitude is a crucible, refining your resolve and deepening your understanding of what it means to be truly free. Ultimately, the rebel's journey is about embracing responsibility without certainty. It's about choosing to live fully awake, despite the silence and indifference of the universe. This journey demands courage, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to authenticity. It is a path few dare to walk, but it is the only path to true freedom.